Another feature that you'll want to become comfortable with when you're drawing and editing is the layer in the layer manager. So over to the right, you'll see we've got our layers toggled on, and that's down using this, I'm sorry, this icon right here, which is my layers. You can see I'm in the edit mode, so I have my command window, which is this bar here. So again, depending on where you're at, that'll either display or not display. And then you got your properties and your layers. However, if you go over to layers, you'll see that you can expand this. So this allows you to easily turn on and off layers. But the layer manager is accessed by clicking on this layer manager icon. And that opens up another window where you can come in and you can create a new layer, delete a layer, and activate a layer. So if you were to come down here, you can see the layers already uh, created. You can either show or freeze them. You can lock them. So if you lock them, that means the objects on that layer cannot be edited in any way. You can see the color, so you can change, color information as well as line style and line weight. So you can see as I scroll over, there's also some other options here for is that layer printable? So if you print your drawing and that layer is turned off or that printing layer is turned off, that layer will not print when you go to print it. There's this option here, which is a new viewport. So that is when you create the viewport. So if you remember, we talked about the paper space versus model space or the viewport layer. You can toggle that on and off in that viewport layer or freeze it within that viewport layer. So you could have different displays of your model in different views by manipulating and turning on and off the layers. And then over to the right, you'll see more information about the description of what that is. So that's pretty handy when you're trying to figure out what's on this information. You can see that we've got pattern one and pattern two. And if I scroll over to the right here, you'll see that it's a sidewalk hatch and a pavement hatch. So this is where we can come through and we can start turning on and off these layers. So if we don't want to see those hatch patterns, we can turn those off. You can also sort by that. So I could sort by what layers are frozen, which layers are turned on and off. I can sort by color, or I can sort by the name, right? So I can change that as well. So if I do line color, I've got all these XREF layers that are in here, or I can again sort by name, and you can see there's nothing on the status, but I can sort by the name and change those layers. You can also come over here, pick on the layer itself and just toggle it off. So if I want the building layer off, I can turn that off just by doing that. You can show all layers, so it turns everything back on. This one here is going to thaw every layer. This one would lock them. This here is going to isolate the layer. So if I was to pick on, let's say, the curve line, I could then go over to isolate layer and it will isolate and turn on and display just the objects with on that layer, which happens to be the curve line layer, right? So C-N layout curve line. So by looking at selecting the layer, looking at properties, I can tell what the object's layer is. Now there's some other options here where you can activate, you can match a layer. So that's going to match a layer property. So if you draw a line and it's on the wrong layer, you can use the match property layer. You can undo the layer. You can delete a layer. So you have some options there under this layers dialog box in layer manager.